proud to present to you a community-based planning meeting with the purpose of soliciting public input on various park projects that we would like to submit for grant consideration to the state of California. This will be the first of 5 meetings that will be conducted for that purpose. And so moving forward, we're excited that you're joining us. We hope to make this a really valuable and meaningful and dynamic exchange. We will be taking notes to record your input. And then more importantly, as we go through the additional meetings and our process, we'll be sharing much of that input with our Recreation Commission, as well as the City Council, ultimately, so that these ideas can culminate into either broaden the concepts that we've developed or provide opportunity for additional ways to grow the concepts, or perhaps even completely new projects altogether. So we have a couple of people that might be on the phone. As we get through our different park projects, we will try our best to be as descriptive as possible. For those of you that are online, obviously, we have a PowerPoint that's being shown. And with that PowerPoint, you'll be able to get a good impression of the different park sites and the renovations or improvements or even expansion that we're proposing. And then we hope that that will create opportunity to trigger some ideas or other thoughts that you may have in mind. And at this point, and by the way, as far as your ideas go, obviously we're talking about a variety of different recreation features that you might want to suggest, but this is a very open platform, meaning that you can suggest other ideas outside the box. So for example, art ideas, maybe some environmental type of projects that could be embedded as part of our park projects. So having said that, we'll go ahead and get started and take a quick look at our agenda. Frank? Thank you very much. And this is just a quick overview of what we'll be showing as part of today's discussion. We'll talk a little bit about the statewide park development and community revitalization program, otherwise known as SPP. Again, that's funded by the state of California under the Department of Parks and Recreation. We'll share with you a little bit about the qualifications to be eligible for the grant. We'll talk about the development of these concept projects as basically high priority needs for the city of Alhambra. And then we'll summarize, of course, those 7 Alhambra Park projects that are being considered at this time. And we'll also include, for the purposes of convenience, absolutely, and because it is relative, we'll include other park improvement ideas that the community services, or I'm sorry, the Parks and Recreation Director has in mind for other park locations, however, under a different funding source. And Mike Macias will address that a little bit further as we get into it. So as you discuss your ideas, something I need to mention to you is that we do want you to tell us why these ideas are important to you. Why is it a concern or a need? Please give us that sort of compelling background so that we can make that a point as part of our overall needs assessment when that narrative goes into the application. And then we also want to know about yourself, what kind of park user you are. Again, I think that will shed some light as to why these ideas that you may be introducing are important. Other things to discuss, I want to take a minute to introduce myself, and then I'm going to pitch it to Mike and his team to introduce themselves so you know who the facilitators are. My name is Lucy Garcia. I'm the Assistant City Manager for the City of Alhambra. A few weeks ago, I should say, both Mike and I were having a conversation about the announcement of these grant projects through the state. And we had a conversation with our city manager, and what was a conversation soon developed into a, well, let's get some direction from the council. Are they interested in us pursuing it? And as a matter of fact, they were. And that conversation quickly morphed into what we're calling our 7 projects. So that's just a little bit of background, and hopefully it gives you some indication as to why I'm involved. But anyway, we have our direction to proceed, and we're excited to now share the projects with you and get your input as well before we go back to council with your ideas. So Mike, go ahead and introduce yourself. I think you have to unmute Mike on your own.
Let's see, there we go. Can you hear me now? Okay, well, thank you everybody. I'm Mike Macias and I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation. And tonight we'll be talking about various projects that we think are very needed within the community, and we're hoping for some tremendous input from everybody. We'll give you a little bit of background and we'll share a little bit of history, and then we'll give you an opportunity to give us some ideas on how to move forward. With that, I'd like to then now throw it over to Bree, our Deputy Director.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bree Houghton. I am the Deputy Director. I oversee senior services, aquatics, and community programs, which is relatively leisure classes and large special events. So today I will bring my expertise to the aquatics division and those facilities, along with answering any questions regarding senior facilities as well. And I'm going to turn it over to Rose.
Hello, good evening. My name is Rose Rojas, and I'm the Recreation Supervisor for the City of Alhambra. And I currently run the Recreation Division here and oversee the programs here, which are primarily recreation activities, which are adult sports, youth sports, and our farmers market, along with, other areas of special events and helping out in other divisions with Bree. And I'm here for support as of now. And I'm going to pass this on to Van.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry. I have my daughter with me, so therefore you're not seeing me on camera. But I handle marketing and communications for the city. And I think I'll pass it over to Frank at this point.
Good evening. My name is Frank Reyes. I'm the program coordinator here at the City of Alhambra. I am in charge of the youth sports programming, cheerleading, football, basketball during the season. Looking forward to assisting and any questions you may have. I'm the one facilitating and running the slideshow. So I'll be advancing the slides and hopefully helping you with this presentation. So I think we're going to go back to Lucy.
Yes, thank you, Frank. Thank you also very much. We wanted to introduce ourselves so that you have opportunity to ask questions on the various park projects. Certainly, the staff here are very well acquainted and understand the challenges that are associated with some of these areas. And so I'm sure they can address anything that you may raise or just may need clarification on. So a little bit about the format to our meeting today. We're going to go through each of the 7 projects and then ultimately Mike's other projects. But as we go through each project, we're going to pause at every at the end of each, only for the opportunity to generate that feedback that we're seeking from the community. We will ask the attendees to raise their hand through the raise hand feature that's on the Zoom, and you can see that by clicking participants, and you will see the raise hand button for that. And Frank will call on you and unmute you so that you have opportunity to ask your question or make a comment or make your suggestion. If you don't see that feature, you can also use the chat option that's available, and you can ask Frank to please give you an opportunity to speak, and he will call on you through that option as well. So that's our format for today. The other thing I need to mention to you is that we have launched concurrent with all of the meetings we'll be conducting. We have conducted a survey relative to those 7 projects to get additional feedback from the community in the event that they're unable to participate in these meetings, but still want to contribute ideas and information. That survey is actually live at this time. We have received several comments already, so that's wonderful. But if you're interested in seeing that, you're more than welcome to. It's actually available on the city's website, and you can navigate for Park Grant, and it'll take you right into the information regarding our meetings, as well as the survey. So at this time, we will go ahead and jump into our first slide, which will be just a quick overview of the grant itself. And then we'll jump into our projects. So as I mentioned, it is a competitive program. It is being funded under Prop 68. The statewide park program has actually, this will be the final cycle of funding under Prop 68. And so we do anticipate the competitiveness to be rather high. We believe our applications or concepts are strong. And so we hope that of the 7 applications that we submit, that some will be considered. So those applications will be due December 14th. And the amount of award is anywhere between $200,000 and $8.5 million. There's no match requirement for the grant. In other words, if we're funded, we don't have to leverage any of the city's resources for that, unless, of course, we exceed the $8.5 million for a substantial project. In that case, that difference, of course, would have to come from the city. And then there are specific eligibility criteria under the grant. For example, we have to meet one of 2 criteria. The first 2 buttons, which are that we have to meet the less than 3 acres per parkland per 1,000 residents criteria. And the second, that we have to meet the household median income below 56,982. And they have some tools set up through the state that allows us to assess it, and it'll be assessed by area, not necessarily citywide. But we did examine each of the 7 locations in advance of considering them for this presentation and others, and they all qualify with one or both of those criteria. And then the other thing I want to share with you are really the other key eligibility criteria, which is the purpose of this grant would be to either create a new park, expand existing park space, or renovate amenities within an existing park. I put in the slide here for you 10 points, 8 points, 6 to 7 points, and that just kind of shows you the scale of relevance. In other words, those projects that create a new park will rate higher and will have probably a higher degree of success, just because they do generate higher points for that type of park project. But we have a myriad of projects, so ours will encompass a medley of those eligibility criteria. So here's a quick at a glance of our 7 projects. I won't get into detail now, but certainly for those of you on the phone, they do include the Shorb Community Center, Pocket Park, which is right now, it's a small building at the intersection of Hellman and Fremont. And that particular building is owned by the city. Burke Heritage Park, Story Park, Gateway Plaza Park, Alhambra Park Pool, Granada Park Pool. And as I mentioned earlier, Mike will also address additional park facilities. So these are the park locations that we're speaking of. And then we'll talk about specifically within the park, what types of improvements we are seeking to address. Next slide, please. Okay, Mike, we're gonna pitch it off to you now.
Well, thank you, Lucy. And thank you everybody that's online. Our first proposed location is the Shorb Clinic. And the Shorb Clinic is located at the corner of 6th Street and Shorb Street. And it's, if you look at a map, it's pretty much in the center of the city. It was built in the 1930s, and its original purpose was to be used as a medical clinic. As you'll see the overhead view, you'll see more field is to the north of the Shorb property. You can bring that back, Frank. I'm not ready to go back to that yet. Okay, thanks. So Moorfield is north of the Shorb property, and currently we have a joint use agreement with the Alhambra Unified School District. So it makes it very unique in terms of the location, because if it's deemed to be something that might be good for a community center, we also have a lot of green space that we can utilize. So the Shorb Clinic was gifted to us by Los Angeles County, and currently we're involved in a feasibility study, and we're getting near the end of that study. So we're hoping to have results relatively soon. Based on the feasibility study, if it's deemed that a community center is what is needed, then the project would anticipate classrooms, meeting space, kitchen, cafe, specialized rooms, lounge areas, and outdoor improvements. But that'll all be based on whatever the study outcomes are. You can go ahead and turn the page. All right. As you can see on this overhead view, it's a pretty large piece of property. The land footprint is about 1.3 acres. And basically we're looking at the L-shaped buildings. The current building footprint is 14,000 square feet. And the current parking footprint, which is down below to the left, is 13,900 square feet. And we have open space of 28,042 square feet. It's in a really good location. Like I said before, to the north of it is Moorfield. To the left of it is Churches. And to the south of it is Valley Boulevard. So it makes it very interesting in terms of a location near public transit. Public transit would drop off right there on Valley Boulevard. So that would really make it accessible to most people throughout the community. Yes, go ahead and show that now. Thanks, Frank. So as you take a look at the video, you can see that currently it's in pretty bad shape. It's boarded up, but we do feel that the large square footage lends itself to some very interesting possibilities for whatever is deemed in terms of the feasibility study. The building is 2 levels with a small basement, and currently everything is basically gutted. There is nothing left in that building. There's the only thing left are the bones that in terms of the building of 1930s. The thing about Shorb that if it's deemed to be a good location for a community center, and the study shows that there's a need, and I would assume they will, because currently our only real meeting location that is community space is at our Reese Hall at the library. And that space is booked all the time. And this particular space could be used for so many things. For example, we're always looking for space for leisure classes and various meeting areas. The possibilities really are endless with this particular property. And we're all anxiously waiting on the results of the feasibility study. And that concludes my presentation of the Shorb Clinic.
Mike, I would add that as an important notable is that of the 7 projects, this would be the most substantial in terms of cost. As you can imagine, we're talking about either refurbishing or obviously constructing a whole new facility. And if that's the case, then this will be requested in the higher dollar value. So at this point, having said all that, I think this would be a good time to ask our participants, our audience, if there are any questions or any input that would like to be shared with the rest of the group so that we can record that as part of the community outreach portion. Frank, do you have anyone online?
I don't. So I do have Christopher who's raised his hand. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Christopher. If you have any comments or questions or input for Shorb.
Yes. Hello. Christopher Forden. I live on the south side. I forget which ward, but near Hellman Atlantic. That's near the ward where I'm at. A question about the Shore property. Just wanted to know if it, I guess, a little bit more details if it has historical significance or if it has any kind of historical designation. And I've seen that building a lot, so I was just curious about that. And you said it was going to be the most expensive one. I wanted to know how much that would be.
Okay, I'll answer the first question. In terms of historical significance, it has not been designated anything historical that we're aware of. And based on our research, we have not found anything in terms of that. So unless we can discover a designation, we're unaware of any type of historical significance.
Thank you.
And then I'll just comment on the costs. So obviously we're in a very preliminary stage as it relates to Shorb. And really we don't have any cost identified because a lot of that will depend on the options that are either approved or preferred, and really what the different recreation amenities will be within the facility. And so there's a lot of contingencies in that, but we do obviously speculate that it will be in the millions of dollars because that's what sizable buildings of this size and purpose cost. And but however, as we near closer to a process, we should be able to get some estimates and really a better idea because we'll have more feedback on what the potential vision is for the facility.
Okay, thank you. And now we have Rachel. You can lower your hand and unmute yourself. You have a question or comment?
Hi, yes. I know you mentioned that the Shorb Clinic would possibly be used for meetings and as a community center. Do you foresee this also being used as like a large banquet area or something used for large gatherings?
I'll go ahead and answer that question. Based on the feasibility study, it may come back that a banquet facility or a large group setting is something that they will recommend. I would imagine that the building, and based on whatever their feasibility study outcomes are, will show that that the building would be best used as a multi-use center. So I would imagine that that would probably be part of the concepts.
Okay, thank you. And now we have Rico. Rico, you can lower your hand and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just comment that I'm not sure if it is a historical building or not, but it does look like it's in really bad shape there. I would argue that it might be more beneficial to the community to, in fact, tear down half the building or one of them and create a larger open space. Might offset some of the renovation costs and get more open space. There are significant amount of meeting spaces, I would argue. There's a library, there's a Jocelyn Center, there's Granada Park for events. Even the golf course has events spaces and meeting spaces as well. So I would be open to maybe negotiating more open space for this parcel. That's what I would comment.
Okay, thank you. So Lucy, that is all I have as far as hands or any other comments.
Frank, do you have any callers that are connecting via phone? And if so, is there a way to unmute them in case they have any questions or comments?
Yes, we do. Let me see if I can unmute the caller we have. Hold on. No, they are staying muted, so.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. We're gonna move
Sorry.
on to the next.
Sorry, there's a person raising their hand by the name of Eric.
Thank you, Van.
Hi, my name's Eric Jasek. I'd just like to say that an off-leash dog park would be great at the Shorb Clinic.
Thank you. And we also have Christopher who raised their hand as well.
Hello again. I actually have a comment this time. Just wanted to just point out, I guess, that or comment that whatever application this project is part of, I was wondering if this could also be a part of upgrading Moore Park, but specifically tapping into the activities that are already happening around there, specifically people walking around the park. I always found that, like, if you go like into Boyle Heights, around the cemetery, there's actually rubberized surfacing, you know, like we have in Alhambra Park, and you doing something like that, so you actually create connectivity with Moore Park as opposed to just this park by itself. So I just wanted to offer that comment that whatever is offered in at this space, also to connect, make sure that it's connected, and you may possibly, that could be a part of the application as making a circular area around Moore Park to make it a walking path that also leads to the new Shorb open space or whatever it is.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other comments there, Frank?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, well then we will move on to our second project. We have entitled this Pocket Park. It really is a small parcel located at the intersection of Hellman and Fremont. It is, as I mentioned earlier, it is a vacant city-owned facility, approximately 2,000 square feet in size. The parcel itself, I believe, is about 0.11 acres. And we call it Pocket Park because by definition or by recreation term alone, it does satisfy that criteria, meaning that it's really just meant to be a small leisure space for the residents of the area. And there's no real substantial recreational amenities. It's very passive, no parking even. It's just a place for people to walk to and be able to enjoy a little bit of green space, particularly in an area that might be highly urbanized. So that's the idea behind Pocket Park. We do expect maybe some turf, trees, landscape, maybe some seating, and things of that nature. Given its location, we also would expect that perhaps some safety enhancements could be added, maybe a small wall around that perimeter of the parcel. And we have some renderings to show you, by the way, to kind of entice your thinking. But Frank, if you could walk us first through the video and then we'll move on to the renderings. So very quick, we're just showing you a quick look at the video. I'm not sure how many of you were aware that this actually does belong to the city, and it does sit vacant. You see the intersection there. And then just alongside, you see some of the residential buildings. And then this would be what we consider the backside, I believe. So why don't we move forward to the renderings? These are two renderings. The one on the left was conceived probably a couple of years ago, I would say, And as you can see, it does include, I believe, a swale. And Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And there are just trees and landscape, a couple of seating areas. And then the one on the right is a more updated rendering. It does include some shaded areas, landscaping, more of a walking path, just a more, probably a little bit more modern aesthetic as it relates to this one. Some DG areas just to allow for a little bit of open space for people to enjoy. And that is really it. There is some fencing along that perimeter, as I mentioned earlier. It's that blue line, a little bit difficult to see here, but it definitely is included. And everything's accessible per ADA. And we are featuring landscaping that's drought tolerant. And that also provides a nice aesthetic rather than the vacant building. Or a lot of concrete, the green space is a welcoming opportunity. So that in summary is the Pocket Park concept. Here's an overview, a satellite view of the area. And Frank, maybe you can just highlight where that building is. There you go, on that lower corner. And at this point, we want to turn it over to you, audience. Do you have any questions, input on what that, maybe the options that might be available to us for that location?
Yes, and we can start with Christopher. I believe you have your hand raised. Yes, Christopher, you have your hand raised. You can go first. All right, let's move on to Rico. Rico, you have any comments, questions, or input as far as?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm aware that this building used to be the Alhambra Library satellite location. I like the second rendering much better, but I think that both renderings are a bit misleading. That parcel is tiny. I think a better use of the grant funding would be the other locations at this time. I think this location should have been served by city funding long ago, and I think the city should take responsibility for that. I think the grant funding should be used for one of the other locations because I believe they would get greater use from the community. Although this is in my direct neighborhood, I would like to see the city do something with it. But again, I think the grant funding would be better served in some of the other potential locations. Thank you.
I do want to add some clarification. So there's no limit on the amount of applications we can submit. And we can submit this as an additional project. So we can have a total of 7 applications if that's the case.
I believe we have Christopher who has raised his hand again. Christopher?
So I know that this is also across the street from Fremont Elementary. And so I wanted to actually ask if Fremont School and the parents or students have actually been outreached to possibly get their feedback on this project as well too. And mostly I'm just thinking if I know that a lot of Fremont students, just anecdotally, I know drop off their kids back when they were going to school in that way by driving, but they would still have some walking. So I'm just curious what those pedestrian needs are that this could possibly serve, just because that's one of the biggest resources that's in that neighborhood. And I feel like parents waiting, so a little bit, a few more benches maybe, but yeah, that's the only thing that kind of comes to mind, but yeah. And also just one comment, I know you said the chat option was open, but it's not. So so yeah, and there's no way to make the chat option send a message to you, Frank. So yeah, just wanted to point that out.
Okay, we'll take care of it behind the scenes. Do you have anybody else waiting, Frank?
Not at this time. Is there any other comments? You could raise your hand. I don't believe so.
Okay, we're gonna move on then to project number 3. Mike?
Okay, everybody. Our next project is the Burke Heritage and Xerioscape Garden, and it's adjacent to the Alhambra Historical Society Museum, and it's located on 1550 Alhambra Road. So it's on the northerly part of the city between Atlantic and Fremont.
Texting Dan because.
Okay, so it's in the northwest area of the city, and basically in the property sits the Historical Society, a Xerioscape Garden. There's some turf and trees, but there's really not much in terms of recreational features. Seating and picnic areas, landscape, trees, and walkways probably will be proposed. We feel that the benefits of the local family units in the neighborhood could really utilize this particular park. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So Burke Heritage Park sits on 1 acre of land, and currently it's used in more of a passive sense in terms of you'll see people doing yoga, reading a book, families, playing catch, or just sitting around talking. It's not really an athletic park, although with the COVID-19, people have begun to utilize it for volleyball and things like that. And we've had to talk to them about the use because they've exceeded the group sizes. But in terms of the park, it's 1 acre. So there's a lot of usable land, and it might be a real good opportunity to add some amenities. There's a nice overview of the park, and it sits just south of Alhambra Road. The thought is to add amenities like possibly a restroom, water fountain, picnic table, a couple park benches, and just kind of add some amenity to this open space. And that's really all I have in terms of Burke Heritage. Take any questions or input.
Okay, we have Rico who's raising his hand. Rico, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I was aware that this location doesn't have a restroom for whatever reason. So I think that should definitely be proposed. On the other hand, I like the open nature of the park, and preserving its large open field, I think is kind of nice. I don't think you need to clutter it with a playground or other weird features. I think it's nice the way it is. Just add an accessible bathroom, and I think you're good. Maybe a picnic table, and that's it. And let's see. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Now we have Nicole. Nicole, you are next.
Hi, I apologize. I was late. I was working, but I'm here to ask for a dog park. I'm very passionate about this vision, and I think this would be a really great spot. There's a lot of, like you said, it's kind of an unused space in a large grassy area, and I think an off-leash dog park would be amazing here.
Okay, does anyone else have any comments? Raise your hand. Rico, you have your hand raised still. Did you have any additional comments?
Yeah, I was just going to comment that I realize that there's a lot of passion for the dog parks, but I would think that this location would not be good for a dog park. I would argue that there is a location on in Alhambra on Montezuma and Florentina, It's on the southwest corner of Alhambra. It's not in this proposal. It's in District 4. It's a corner. It's a large, large city triangle. In fact, it's on Montezuma and Florentina, and that would be an ideal location for a dog park. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I think we're going to move on. I'm sorry, Lucia, go ahead. I just saw your hand go up.
Yes, I just joined the meeting. I'm sorry. I don't know if you were speaking about Story Park or probably you already did it.
No, not yet. We're currently at Burke Heritage Park.
Okay, thank you. So I will wait until that's brought up about Story Park. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to our next proposed location, which is Story Park, which Story Park is located on the northeast section of the city. And the Story Park pool opened in the 1930s. In terms of Story Park, the center has the lower area of Story Park is the area that we're considering the improvements. And on the current site, we have the Jocelyn Senior Center and a tennis court. To the north of it, we have a playground, a ball field, some picnic benches. I believe there's a volleyball court and a restroom. Go ahead and do the next slide there, Frank, or whatever's next. So the project involves a demolition of the pool and the conversion of the old amenity into a usable green space, including trees, turf, walkways, landscape, picnic areas, and lighting. It will also include renovation to the entryway of the senior center, so it's a little more accessible. As you can see with the overview, we have the tennis courts, a large parking lot, of course, the pool, and the senior center. And what makes Story Park very unique is it's a subterranean park. All of our parks are very unique, and this one's very unique in its own way. The northern portion of the park drops down a little bit and allows for a little more privacy. For example, if a family's doing a picnic, it's not something that you could see street side. So the same goes for the south side of Story Park, where we're looking to do the improvements. Let's go to the next slide. Here's a rendering of what could possibly be an open space for seniors and families of the area. With funding, we may be able to repurpose the space for seniors, families, and it would include amenities such as a walking circuit, some LED lighting, a multi-purpose area, drinking fountain, and just generally a good green open space. And I'd also like to note that if you take a look at the new senior bus stop, there's a nice little cutout so that the senior ride can drop off our seniors to the center and they can utilize this green space. That's all I have on the Story Park. Questions or input?
All right, we have Rico first and then Eric. Rico, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thank you. You know, you're asking for community input, but I would criticize that it seems like you already have your plans for these spaces. You have fully idealized renderings. And I'm gonna kind of go away from that a little bit. And I've seen this pool empty for 30 years at least. I think I would contrary your proposal, and I think this location would be an ideal location for a skate park for the kids. So please make note of that. I propose a skate park for this location. I think that we're missing out on the vital opportunities, and our kids are underserved. I think the seniors already have their center there, quite frankly. And in addition, if funding is short, there are additional grants we can apply for. For example, the skateparkorganization.org gives skate park orgs. We're missing out on grants by the Vance Corporation in partnership with the Vance Shoe Company, who has had locations in Alhambra for 40 years. And we're just missing out on these opportunities because we don't have the vision for it. So I would propose for this location a skate park. And again, I hear the dog park people are already going to chime in, and I again would propose a location on Montezuma in the Midwick location for a dog park. That's that triangle parcel. You really should look into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rico. Now we have Eric. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question. Would any parking be taken away? Because it looked in like that rendering, some of the parking is taken away.
Eric, no parking would be removed. We would just have to modify things a little bit, but no, parking would not be lost.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next up, we have Lucia.
I concur with Rico in regards to the skate area, or probably a bike loop so the kids can ride their bikes, because as you mentioned, it's kind of base park or underground park, as you called before. So the kids do not really have a loop for the bikes. And I will also like to request some swings in the playground. This park does not have any swings, and there are a lot of toddlers who play in this area, and I think swings are needed. There are some stairs right next to the playground, and they are not of use. They're very old, and I go to that park almost every day because I live nearby. And I see no one sits on those stairs. So probably you can think of removing those, or probably painting those, make it more attractive, or replace that area with probably the swings or a basketball court, a very small one, because we don't have basketball courts in this park. So we also need to, I think it will be very beneficial for the kids to have a basketball court, as they don't have it. Or where the pool is at right now, probably we can consider to have basketball court for the kids. And definitely replace the picnic tables. They're very, very old and in very unused condition. And I also think, as Rico did before, that the seniors around the area have the Jocelyn Center. They have green areas to walk around. They do have plenty of space already, so I don't think we need to implement anything else for our seniors. We have to think about our kiddos around the area who need more space, more playgrounds, more equipment to play with around. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucia. We have Nicole. Nicole, you're next.
Thank you. I love the idea of a skate park here. I think teenagers are really missing out on some great opportunities, and middle schoolers as well, in terms of being able to have an outdoor space that they can call their own. I think it would also minimize damage in other parts of the city where kids are using it, curbs and other locations to do their skateboarding that could create more potential damage. Having a nice secure place, I think, would be beneficial, especially a place that has the ramps associated with what a skate park would need. I know I'm very passionate about being a dog park person. I personally am happy about a dog park anywhere in Alhambra. So if my voice is heard for any section of Alhambra, I'm more than happy. I'm not rigid about where that might be, but I would really think that one of the concerns I think Councilmember Mahoney had mentioned in the past about a dog park is that there wasn't really a space for it. And so now that these projects are up, and there seems to be space in these areas, that's my place of vocalization, but if it could happen anywhere, I'm totally happy to voice my opinion in terms of a dog park anywhere within our city limits. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we have Christopher. Christopher, go ahead.
Just wanted to share my support for the skate park idea as well too. I think this would be a great idea here. Also, to support one of the other speakers on bicycling, to actually make sure that we're putting bike parking at these parks as well. I wanted to also say that bike parking should be put on the Shorb Clinic site as well, but not the squiggly lines, just the U. Just the low impact, just the U, and those have a lot less impact and take up a lot less space, and also accommodate at least 2 bikes, per rack. So I think those could be some of the simplest and easiest things to actually get at these parks. So just especially right now with COVID, a lot of folks are biking. Those amenities go away to enjoy and ride to those spaces. So just want to say that.
Thank you. And I believe, Rico, you had your hand up and down. I'm not sure if you still had one more comment.
No, I'm sorry. I'm done. Thank you.
Frank, do you have any other folks waiting on the line, raising their hands, or even via telephone wanting to speak? If not, then we will be moving on to our 5th project, which is Gateway Plaza Park. And in this particular concept does include taking some of the landscape and replacing it with green turf, really as an opportunity to create more usable space for the community to enjoy. Right now, that particular area is 0.4 acres. And so the project, if improved, would create some walking paths, some benches, and definitely we would retain some of the flower beds and landscape because those are still important features and beautiful features, but we do want to create more usable space. And Frank, maybe you can move forward to either the video or, yes, thank you. That'll give us a better overview of the area itself. The landmark arch, of course, would stay. It's my understanding that there are only a few benches there that accommodate seating now. And we just feel that maybe the additional green space would create an opportunity for people to use it more. The location, of course, is at Fremont and Valley, and it is a busy area, but definitely, I think, very suitable for many of the residents that are nearby and that may want to use it as just a place to enjoy, again, a passive nature park. No any active amenities would be introduced other than to enhance what's there. Next slide, please. This is an overview of Gateway Plaza Park, and you see the different, within that corner, you see the park parcel, and you see, of course, all those compartmentalized landscape areas. The idea would be to turn some of that into green space. Allow kids to rumble or, people to sit in the grass and that kind of thing. Next slide, please. That really concludes this part of the conversation for Gateway Plaza Park, but we do want your questions and input. So Frank, do you have anyone waiting on that?
Yes, Rico has his hand raised. Go ahead, Rico.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I know it's, please don't take it personal. I know it's your job to consider this park, but this parcel is a joke. Nobody uses this. It's unattractive. Nobody wants to be out there. It's on the busiest section in Alhambra, arguably. I would just leave it alone. It's fine the way it is. Don't clutter up the grant process with this consideration at all. I would hate for us to get funding for this only I know that you said we can get multiple grants at the same time, but let's not clutter up the process with this parcel. It's not attractive. It's not I can't imagine anybody wanting to spend time there, even if there was grass, to get a big old puff of smoke from a big truck as it's driving by does not seem like an attractive or useful or healthy thing to do. Let's just table this proposal altogether. And that's a motion I make, is to table this proposal for this parcel. I implore you, please. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have Nicole. Nicole has her hand.
Maybe I'm an unpopular opinion here. I like this area. I think it would be nice to have a space to be able to be more user friendly. I think with like 1 or 2 benches is really not a great place. I like the idea of the grass, but maybe having some sort of like protection or barrier from the street would be good to maintain, so that people feel safe in that environment. And it doesn't have to be super high, but at least like maybe half like waist length or something along the edge, so that it protects or blocks from Fremont. And maybe some trees to add some shade, so it's enticing for people to have as an outdoor lounge area. I think there's a lot of businesses nearby where people might come out and have lunch and take a walk and have a nice little lunch there. And maybe even some Wi-Fi in that area would be good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Lucia. Lucia, go ahead.
Yes, so I agree with Rico. I think it's a very noisy area. There's a lot of smoke around that area. There's not even a parking lot close to that place in order to walk there. I think it will be a waste of money. I think we should use that funding for the other parks, especially for Story Park, because that's the one I really care mostly about, because I live nearby. And we need to remodel the playground at Story Park, as it has been done in Almanzor Park, Alhambra Park, and others. So yes, I think we should leave it the way it is and to use that funding for other purposes. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have Christopher. You have your hand up again, please. Go ahead.
Hello. I would think to, I guess, I even though it is not the most pleasurable place to be, Valley and Fremont is really congested, but I think that area specifically does not have a lot of park space. I know y'all are trying to, maybe adapt this to be more usable, but one of the biggest eyesores about it is that there's, to also alleviate from the fact that there's cars nearby, is there's no shading. It's a hot surface to be on, so we need shade trees definitely to not just give shade for people who are sitting there, but also to even just have fresher air that's actually from the cars that are passing by. I think just having that would be a boon just to that area. And I'm just stubborn, but I would take out the obelisk. I hate that gateway. I think is the most tacky thing, but yeah, just shade trees. I think just shade trees. And also I think the obelisk would also be poking out of the shade trees. It'd be look like a thumb popping out of a green area. But I just say shade trees would be probably the biggest thing I think that could be there. If you are going to put shade trees and make it more accessible, a public restroom. I know there's a lot of public transit that's in the area. That's a very high use corridor for bus riders. So a public restroom would be something I think that could definitely be used and just be another amenity for folks who are commuting to use it in that way. So I'd say shade trees, public restroom, and wish could get rid of the obelisk, but it's all right.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any other comments, input, ideas of how we can transform this area? If not, we're going to move on. All right, thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm here to talk to you more about the Alhambra Park Pool restroom renovation project. The Alhambra Park Pool opened roughly July 4th of 1921, making this facility about 9 months shy of being 100 years old. So even though during that 100 years, small renovations have taken place to the structure, for the most part, the structure and the bones of it have remained the same during that time. So staff in there, the aquatic staff, and so they do take very much pride in making sure that it remains in working order. They keep it clean, they keep repairs going, small repairs, what they can do in-house, what we can parcel out, to keep it as well as it is. Just to give you an idea, the Alhambra Aquatics Department services about 2,000 swimmers every summer, and that's during the 3 months of our peak season, which is June, July, and August. That's just lessons alone. We also service about 5,000 lap swimmers, rec swimmers during that time as well. So it's a heavy use, and that means that 7,000 swimmers are walking through that facility to get to the pool deck and back through that facility to get out. Right now, Alhambra Park Pool has in the men's restroom, 1 changing station, 2 public toilets, 2 urinals, and 6 showers. Again, the biggest part of this that's a problem is that it is open air, which means it's fully exposed to the elements, rain, weather, hot, cold. You see there's rust, there's concrete damage, there's roofing damage, there's cracks. They've done a great job trying to maintain it over these last 100 years, but it is definitely aging and it needs repair. So the women's restroom, just to give you perspective, only has 1 public toilet, 4 showers, and 7 cubicle changing areas. So as you can see there in the margins, in 1980, the restrooms and the changing areas went through a small renovation. And then again, they went through 1997, partitions were changed to meet ADA standards. So again, they've only done small changes through those years to kind of thing, but we've got termite damage, wood rot. It would be great to kind of see this uplifted and really shine for the swimmers, the lessons, to serve the community the best way we can. And closing those locker rooms would definitely help preserve the longevity and the use of the facility. So any questions?
We have Rico. Rico, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, hi, thank you. Do we have a cost assessment on this work of the preservation for this pool facility at this time?
I don't believe we have an estimated cost on it, no.
Okay.
But it would definitely, it would be on the higher end of the grant.
Right.
For sure.
Okay, I would just like to comment. I support this renovation as a member of the community. I used to get my lunches there in the 80s and took swimming lessons there in the 1980s. So it's a building that's close to my heart, as well as I'm sure a lot of community members. And I think the move to preserve it would be really, really great. Yeah, preserve as much of the existing structure as possible. But I realize, you know, in closing it, that might be the best option. But in any case, yeah, I like this one.
Okay, does anyone else have any feedback as far as things that, no? Okay, so now we have some hands up. We have Lucia. Lucia, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So yes, I definitely agree with the renovation for this pool. But my suggestion is about the recreational time swimming lessons schedule. We were lucky, we were fortunate to extend the recreational swimming in the month of August, because normally it used to be ended the day before the students will go back to school. In this month, in August this year, it was extended until the end of the month, which was great. My request will be to probably consider some of that funding if possible, or think about extending it through the month of September next year and the following years, since September is still a hot month it's a warm month. We still have hot days in September, and we could, of course, use that for recreational swimming in addition to swimming lessons, because a lot of us are parents and we have little kids and we want to enjoy the pool, the community pool with our kids. And we don't have that much at these parks, not at Granada either. So probably think about implementing or more schedules for recreational swimming and swimming lessons during the week, not only to the swimming team from Alhambra High, but also to the little kids from the area. Because my understanding is that that pool is also rented to other schools from Pasadena or other cities. And I think we should probably think more about providing that service to the kids, the children in Alhambra. So hopefully that can be taken into consideration in your budget for the next year or upcoming years. So we can enjoy the pool since we live in Alhambra now. And we want to take advantage of having those two pools opened probably until September. Thank you.
Can I make a quick mention? The city does have a city swim team, and we have about 500 swimmers throughout the year. We roughly run about 35 to 50 swimmers on our city swim team, and they swim and practice at both facilities. So during the week, they're at Alhambra, and then on the weekends, they're at Granada, and that's year round for our city. So we do offer that.
Right, but that's for children who are part of a team. So my request would be for other kids that are not part of the team necessarily to probably allocate some time, some hours for kids who just want to go and swim on their own, probably an hour or 2 hours on Saturday or Sunday. Because not all of the children belong to a swimming team, but they do want to enjoy the pool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to Christopher. Christopher, as far as facilities, improvements, any comments or questions?
Yeah, support the renovation of the space. Wanted to offer maybe an addition as a part of the scope of the project to add maybe some artwork specifically in the pool area. An example would be Obregon Park in East LA. Worked with a tile artist and actually made tile artwork in the pool itself, in the pool bed and also on the walls. And so that was always a really beautiful thing just to just update. And that's a cool thing about, I swam at this park as a kid too, and I did dig the art. And so it'd be cool to do an update and to kind of, as if it gets funded, it would be nice to showcase even that kind of artwork. Maybe that's community led with those ideas. So I just wanted to offer that as a possibility in addition to it.
Okay. Any other feedback as far as improvements, things you'd like to see done at Alhambra Park Pool? Okay. Our phone caller, do you have the ability to unmute yourself? We just want to check in on you, make sure we're not missing out on any comments or feedback. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on. Thank you. All right. Now we're going to move on to Granada Park Pool. Bree, if you can give us an overview here.
This is very similar to the Alhambra pool, but these restroom facilities are not as old. It was last renovated. It was built in 1950, but it last did a full overhaul renovation in 1997. So it's only about 23 years old, and you'll see in these pictures, the restroom facilities are still in sad shape and still need to be renovated. They're not nearly as bad as Alhambra pool because it's indoor space versus outdoor space. But you can still see that it's definitely aging. When you have indoors and you have chemicals in cleaning, they have fumes, and those fumes do add corrosion. And in aquatic facilities with all the humidity of the showers and things like that, that also causes problems. So you can see indoor facilities can age just as much as outdoor facilities, not nearly as fast, but they do age. The swimming totals there, we run about we have about 1,500 swimming lessons that we give every summer and about 3,000 for the rec swim. Those numbers serve the community in the lower part of Alhambra. And as you can see, there's still floors that need to be done, broken tiles, old style lockers, old benches, bad partitions that are hanging they're secure, they're safe, but they need to be redone. Chipping, tiles, old urinals. So see some more, we're looking to like more update and get maybe some environmentally conscious, low flow, stuff like that to maybe serve better the community and the environment.
Okay, does anyone have any comments or feedback? I know we just went over the pool facilities for the other park. Any improvements you'd like to see towards the pool here at Granada? Christopher has his hand raised. Please go ahead.
Hello again. This is a park that I actually live right next to, so I use it very often. I just wanted to make a note that we also every now and then use the pool, and notice that a lot of parents are actually always sitting on a bench. So making a little bit the pool area amenities, having a place for parents to actually sit and actually observe, because they'll either sit on these benches with no shading, I think, but also too, they'll even sit outside of the pool facility, just like, and on the grass, under a tree, so they're obviously looking for shading. So some other kind of amenity for parents who are onlookers, if there's some limited space. I know don't want to invite so many parents to those pool space, but just that being a consideration to help them out.
Okay, does anyone else have any feedback? Just go ahead and raise your hand. All right, well, thank you. We're going to go ahead and move forward. This will be Mike. Mike's going to talk to us about some other opportunities for improving some of our parks. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Frank. The two areas I'd like to bring up right now are Alhambra Park and Almanzar Park. And with these particular projects, we're planning on using some Measure A funds that are allocation funds that we receive annually to do some upgrades within these parks. And just a little background of Alhambra Park. Alhambra Park's located 500 North Palm Avenue. The park is almost 15 acres. Alhambra Park was the first park developed in the city of Alhambra, and it was opened in 1921. Alhambra Park's a really unique park, as all of our parks have a unique use for them. Alhambra Park is a blend of picnic shelters for picnics and families. There's a nice playground area, tennis courts, basketball court, restroom facilities, a beautiful pool and splash pad. So it's got a little bit for everybody. So it's almost like a picnic park, as opposed to some of the other parks that have, and I'll talk a little more about Almanzar, but Alhambra Park is, for those of you that visit Alhambra Park, it's really one of our gems in the city. A lot of mature trees, plenty of shade, the grounds are well kept, but there's certain areas that need a little TLC, and that's what I want to talk about right now. With the Measure A funds, we're really looking at restoring the lower restroom. They're located by the tennis courts, and what we'd like to do is restore the exterior to its original design. So basically redoing the exterior from top to bottom and basically stripping it down to its studs and rebuilding it to a new original. And then what we would like to do is rehab and update the interior with features that include waterless urinals, stainless steel toilets, stainless steel partitions, and a new flooring that would be easy to maintain and clean. In addition, at Alhambra Park, we would like to replace some of the fencing that is very aged. And there are some areas that are in need of reinforcement at the bases. We'd like to also resurface the courts and upgrade the lighting to LED to lower the cost of lighting the facility and making it a little more energy efficient. The last part of this project is replacing the playground there. We recently worked in partnership with the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation, and we replaced one of the playgrounds, but we still have the existing other half of the playground. And what we'd like to do is finish off this particular playground before we move on to the next one and add pour in place surface that would add more safety and remove the bark chip that is currently in there. By removing the bark chip, it eliminates any safety issues that may occur. It's much easier to clean if we have a pour in place surface, and it's just much safer. So that's Alhambra Park. And then if we hit and move the slide over. Okay, Almanzar Park. Almanzar Park is also very unique. It's located at 800 South Almanzar Street. It's 28 acres. It's almost 29 acres. Almanzar Park opened in 1951 and was developed. It's unique because it's more of a sports park within the city. It's got 3 ballparks. Two of them, well, one of them is a little league field, the other is a softball field, and then one is a full regulation ballpark. And in addition to that, we have a lot of green space for soccer use and flag football. The lighting was recently upgraded on the field 4, which is at the Adams Gate, where we did an upgrade in lighting. We're using state-of-the-art LED lighting that eliminates almost all of the spill lighting. It's all direct lighting, so it does not impact the neighborhood that is surrounding the park. But with this particular project, well, let me talk a little more about the park. It's unique because it's got a gym, 3 ball fields, outdoor basketball courts, tennis courts, picnic areas, and some open space. And the feature that's used all the time is our jogging/walking trail. And the course is 1.3 miles. And if anybody that ever visits Almanzar Park, the foot traffic in that park is just unbelievable. And it's great because it's a very active park. What we're hoping to do with some of the future Measure A funding is replace, you can see the imagery in the little collage there. The gymnasium, we maintain it as well as we can. We resurface floors and redo all of the maintenance, but it's really due for a facelift in terms of the windows. The windows are 1951 windows, and we'd love to do something that would be energy efficient and bring back some of the charm. They need a little love. And we'd like to also restore the built-in bleachers to original form. Over the years, they've been painted and just, it would be a real asset to the city of Alhambra to restore the interior of the gymnasium that's so used. We would also like to restore the interior paint, which if anybody's ever gone in that gym, it's this horrible, like a orangish, reddish. It's just not a great color. And we'd like to restore it back to original and get it back to where it really looked clean, and it gave the community a real sense of pride. And then we would also look into the rehab of the women's and men's restrooms. So these are the types of things that we'd like to push forward as we receive allocations through Measure A. And that concludes my presentation.
All right, so this will go back to Lucy. Lucy, you want to kind of close out things here?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say thank you to our audience. I think I want to commend your engagement and your participation and your commitment to Alhambra. I think you've provided a list of ideas for additional discussion, of course. We do have additional meetings moving forward with these concepts to be further shared to other members of the community. Our next meeting, in fact, will be on October 17th. It is a 10 a.m. meeting. We're trying to diversify our meetings, different times, different days, so that people have opportunity to participate and to create some flexibility pursuant to different schedules. So that's where we're at right now. We look forward to seeing you again. If you're able to continue participating, you have other ideas, by all means, please don't hesitate to reach out either through Mike or myself, or you can complete the survey that's online. If you have any other thoughts, you can submit your thoughts through the survey as well. And I would like to just kind of close with leaving it for any other comments. And I think we've generated.
I'm sorry, Lucy. Rico had his hand up. I'm not sure if he was commenting on what Mike had mentioned.
Sure, that'd be great.
Can I comment on the last proposal or whatnot?
Yes.
Okay. Great, thank you. So Alhambra Park, there's a small maintenance, city maintenance area just next to the pool. And I've always wondered, why is that there? Can we move that off site? Can we look into that, moving that off site, and we could reclaim some space for the park? It should just be park services. Why is there a maintenance or city yard there? You can move it to a building, any building near the Target or something like that. Also, I like the jogging rubberized tracks in Almanzor Park as well. I think all our parks should have those around them on the sidewalks. Replace all the sidewalks, you would dissipate the crowds from Almanzor to Alhambra to Granada to all the major parks. All should have rubberized tracks. And the other comment that I would make is, why are we not talking about the golf course? The golf course is the largest area of green space in Alhambra, and I would argue that it's underutilized by the majority of Alhambra residents. It's an 18-hole, multi-acre complex. That's a pay-to-play course. And I would really move to considering cutting the golf course area so that we could create more open space for the community. It could be a 9-hole course, and everybody can get what they want after that. Dog parks, skate parks, open space, because the majority of the use of Almanzor Park is by teams and scheduled uses. You don't allow people just to have a random, I've heard of people getting kicked off for kicking the soccer ball between 2 people. It's ridiculous. So we need to create more open space for people. And I think we need to start talking about the golf course and how we can utilize that for all the community. And then finally, I think that's it for now. Thank you. So thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you, Rico. And we also have Christopher who raised his hand. Go ahead.
Sure. Hello. I'm actually with my sister who's also a resident here. She's going to speak a little bit.
Hi. I just wanted to mention that about the LED lighting, how you were talking about that earlier. I would suggest that we consider some kind of soft white LED, some with warm tones, because blue light has been found to impair the body's natural flow of melatonin. So blue light really affects melatonin, and that's the hormone that regulates your brain's, for a sleep awake cycle. And I noticed, I even have to have a blue light on my glasses just from cars because it really gives me a headache while driving. So I think, especially since it's at night and you don't want to feel awake while you're at night, but you also want to give warm, inviting, security on your streets. So I think it's an option to look at. And you don't want it to look so sterile too while you have like these really bright shining lights outside. That's it.
And I had a comment too. So 2 residents you get today. Sorry. Just wanted to make a mention on the golf course. Totally agree with Rico's comment. We should reimagine what that golf course should be. It should be open space. Definitely, I think if we're thinking outside the box, we need to think of the space we own, and that's definitely a space we can and should be using for more public access. Families and everything, and not golfers, not just golfers. And so I guess the last thing I wanted to mention too, just a quick comment on the pocket park. I appreciated the shading. I wanted to also offer maybe some canopy as well too, aside from shading that could maybe be added on. I know that I've seen that in some parks as well, to just add to additional shading on the pocket park. And lastly, I want just a question to staff. I wanted to know if the survey is available in Spanish and Chinese or Cantonese and Mandarin. I didn't see an option for that. And if these presentations will be presented in multiple languages for future meetings, since we have about 4 more to go. But thank you for all your effort as well too. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And we have one more hand up. Lucia, go ahead.
Yeah, so I agree about the golf course. So I was thinking that we don't have any soccer fields around the parks. And I know we have a lot of children who enjoy playing soccer as well. So probably we can think about allocating a soccer field in the golf course or in Almanza. We have plenty of it's a large green areas right next to the playground. And I know a lot of soccer lessons take place there, but when the soccer season comes, it's full, and then they have to come to Story Park to play soccer and offer the lessons, and they use almost the whole park, and because Story Park is a very small one, so probably that can be considered as well. And I think the playground in Alhambra Park, the one that it was remodeled by Los Angeles Dodgers, is good enough for the kids. The other playground is older than that one, but I think it's still functional for these children. The one at Story Park and Granada need to be considered as well to be remodeled, because I haven't heard about the playgrounds in Story Park and Granada Parks to be remodeled. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lucy, go ahead.
Well, unless there are any other comments, that's going to conclude our meeting tonight. We went an hour and a half, and my compliments to everyone involved, staff and audience included. So thank you so much for everyone's valuable input. And I believe I got muted. I don't know how much of me you heard. Can everyone hear me now? Okay, good. So thank you again. We have more meetings coming up, and certainly we look forward to seeing how these things develop. Our next meeting, as I mentioned, is going to be October 17th. And then following that, we will have another meeting on October 20th, that time at 2 p.m., followed by the Recreation Commission meeting on November 5th. Where ideally some of these ideas will come to fruition, and maybe by November 23rd, we'll be going to the City Council. That last meeting is a little tentative, as I'm not sure how the holidays will be affecting those schedules, but in any event, we'll be going back to the City Council before that December 14th deadline of the grant application. So thank you all again for your participation. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out, and we will adjourn our meeting. Thank you so much.